It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Hey.
Five, five, four, three.
Hello.
It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. I am your host, Gabrielle Gardner, and wishing a happy Friday to you. You have made it through another long week. You're ready for a happy Friday and hopefully a happy weekend. It is Friday, September 1st, which means for some people it is officially the last day of summer. I'm sure all of the kids everywhere, if they haven't gone back to school already, are sad to see their summer go away, but I'm sure those parents are actually quite relieved and ready to get back into a routine. And you made it through the first week of back to school traffic, so it only goes up from here. I know things may have changed a lot this week in terms of your journey, but hopefully you're finding your new routine, and if not, you have this weekend to kind of strategize for how to make the best work week next week. Speaking of the weekend, I hope that you are making plans to take advantage of lots of the wonderful activities. Of course, we have our natural resources like the beach, but we actually have a play coming up at the Datus that I'm planning to go to. It's called The Setting Up by James Cadlin. So you want to take advantage of these wonderful experiences where you can enjoy art from your Bahamian counterparts. We've got a great show in store for you today. The Consumer Protection Commission is here to tell us about their major event, which is taking place. Dr. Niambi Hall Campbell-Dean will be joining us to discuss the findings of her recent study about the occurrence of marital rape and its impact on women in the Bahamas. Ilsha McPhee will be closing out our summer entertainment series with an energetic performance. We'll be learning about the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit education-focused initiatives, as well as we'll also be learning about cybersecurity awareness and protection. But first, let's check on weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by NUA, the hands-on agency.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Good morning, Bahamas. And your first look at weather at sunrise. We have an area of showers and thunderstorms associated with Dahlia. Those far away from us. It's going to move across the northwest Bahamas, in particular Grand Bahama, Abaco, as far south as New Providence during the afternoon hours. And that's going to trigger off some showers and thunderstorms. High pressure will continue to be the dominant feature across the islands. And we're also looking at some swells associated with the island for you small craft operators. Today, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, still hot and humid. You can expect a few scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon hours. High to 92, heat index 107. Tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy and warm skies again with a few nighttime showers, maybe a thunderstorm popping up. A low temperature going down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And some regional highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 86 and 80. In Jamaica, 94 and 80. In Trinidad, 1978. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 91 and 80. Across North America, Atlanta 84 and 66, in Boston 72 and 57, in Miami 91 and 79, Dallas, Texas 100 and 75, and Toronto, Canada 74 and 63. As usual weekend, high pressure be the dominant feature across the islands with some gentle breezes. So the most part looking at partly sunny skies, still hot, still humid. You can expect a couple of showers, maybe a thunderstorm, maybe during the afternoon hours. The temperature daytime will be in the low 90s. At nighttime, around the 80-degree mark. That puts our first look at the weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Gabrielle.
Thanks, Godfrey. The Consumer Protection Commission, or CPC, is a specialized body implementing legislation for consumer protection. Here to talk to us about that are Datus Ferguson, Manager of Complaints and Investigation Department at CPC Bahamas, and Austina Smith-Knowles, Manager of Marketing, Education, and Research at CPC Bahamas. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning and thank you.
So this seems like very important work. You're representing, of course, the interests of the consumers. So most important question, what is the CPC?
Well, first of all, good morning, Bahamas, and thanks for having us here. And the Consumer Protection Commission is an arm of the government under the Ministry of Economic Affairs, headed by the Senator, the Honorable Michael Halkitis. And we are an agency that's geared towards protecting the rights of consumers, giving them a stronger voice so that they are protected from the unscrupulous business practices that we see from time to time in the communities.
What are some of those basic rights that the consumer should be aware of?
Well, first of all, they have the right to be informed. So, and they have a right to education. So we do have an education department that goes out and makes public announcements and awareness known. And through Austina and her team in the marketing department, we get the word out. And some of the other rights are they have a right to resolution, to have their cases heard and to get resolution. You know, some of the other most prominent rights that people need to be aware of is that they have a right to get a receipt or obtain a receipt whenever they make a purchase. It's not optional for the merchant to just take your cash and tell you, have a nice day. They're supposed to, by law, give you a receipt, a printed copy, every time you make a purchase.
And so in the event that someone feels like their rights are being infringed upon, what is their recourse? What can they do?
Well, they can contact us here at the Consumer Protection Commission Complaints Department, and our hotline is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on holidays. The number is 357-7898. That's 357-7898. Or they can go and make a complaint digitally by emailing us at complaints@cpcbahamas.gov.bs.
Okay. So now, I don't even know the name of it. I just know that a major event is taking place. So tell me all about this major event that's coming up for the CPC.
Okay, so the Commission has sought to launch a Creative Minds logo competition geared towards youth ages 12 through 17 years of age. And what we seek to accomplish in that is to have the young generation, as you would agree that the youth are the future of the society. And so we looked at ages 12 to 17, and the reason why we chose that age grouping is because even though they aren't major income producing, they are actually, you would agree, consumers.
Oh, yes.
Great consumers. So, like Mr. Farrington would have already stated, one of our mandates for the Commission is to educate. And so that is one of the reasons why we decided to focus on that age group. Now, the initial reason why we decided to actually change the logo, I don't know if you're aware, but we have a new executive director, attorney Sharmaine Farrington. She has a very keen eye for perfection, and immediately when she assessed the Commission, she saw that our logo, it appeared to represent us as a judicial entity. So it didn't speak to what we're all about. Like Datus said, we're here to give the consumers a louder voice and stronger rights. So that coupled with wanting to educate the youth, in addition to, thirdly, of course, we want to rebrand ourselves. We just relocated to Tonique Williams Darling Highway in our new office. We share the building with our sister agency under the Ministry of Economic Affairs with Consumer Affairs. So we're both stationed in that building. And so when we see that we are relocating, we have a new executive director, we're trying to rebrand the Commission. And so that all tied into us having this great logo competition that we've launched.
Okay, so if somebody wants to participate, well, if somebody wants their child to participate in this competition, how do they get signed up?
Okay, so firstly, I would encourage you to go to our CPC page, Facebook page, Consumer Protection Commission Bahamas, and on the page, we'd like to encourage you, first of all, to like and follow us.
Of course,
okay?
Naturally.
All right, and so you will find this right here. This is a flyer with our rules and regulations, and also there's a form there. So we would like for persons to go to the site and download this and fill out the form, and then you can either have us come and collect it from you, or you can come and deliver it to our office on Tonique Williams Darling Highway, or you can email it to us at info@cpcbahamas.gov.bs. If you have any inquiries, you can also call. My mobile number contact is 357-5992, or Mr. Farrington, he heads complaints, but he is assisting us with launching this. You know, it takes unity. So his complaints at cpcbahamas.gov.bs. You can reach out to him also. His hotline, which is 357-7898.
And have you seen, you know, since you've been working with the CPC, what has been the response from consumers? Are they aware of, you know, the role that you play in society, and are they taking advantage of the support that you offer?
I'm happy you asked that question, because I believe that the public is becoming more aware. Thanks to the awesome partnership Austina and I share as marketing and complaints department. We work hand in hand in making sure the information is out there, doing media blitz on the radio, on the TV stations, in the newspapers, and also visiting shopping plazas, giving out pamphlets, flyers, and the like, so that the word is out there. We want the CPC to become a household name. And so this is one idea that helps to do that, because now we're reaching out to the younger generation so that they can do some research, learn more about the CPC, so they can better be informed and also exercise their creative geniuses and juices, you know what I mean, in creating that logo competition. So we've been door-to-door to schools, high schools, throughout Nassau, but we're not Nassau-centric. We want the public to know that even Family Islands can enter this competition.
And they are to submit a physical copy that they would have hand-drawn?
That's correct, right. And I just want to say that the top prize is $500 cash.
Oh.
Okay, and the second prize is $250 cash, and the third prize, $100 cash. Okay, so if you have 3 kids in your household between 12 and 17, make sure the 3 of them win, so you can end up with $750.
Well, they just missed the summer vacation money.
Exactly.
Just touching on what he just mentioned in terms of our prizes, I would love to highlight some of our sponsors.
Okay.
Okay. So we have Lowe's Wholesale Pharmacy Limited. We have Rubis Bahamas Limited, Custom Computers Limited, Commonwealth Building Supplies Limited, and the Prescription Parlor Pharmacy Limited. Those are the sponsors that have stepped forward so far, and we look forward to more coming forward.
And we are thankful for those sponsors, and we're thankful for the important work that you're doing. And thank you guys for joining me on the show this morning.
And thank you for having us.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Attention customers, next Tuesday, a major hurricane will cause complete confusion and chaos throughout the entire Bahamas. Water, phone, and internet services will be in short supply. Definite data loss is expected to all local and Family Island businesses.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Be ready with push-to-talk service that keeps you connected with your workforce with a simple push of a button. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Island.
Meet Leno, your bridge to the future. Wealth planning, investments, corporate services, trust services, pension administration, fund administration, outsourced accounting, and payroll. When you think of financial solutions, think of Leno. Local or international, company or individual, Leno can help. Our team of skilled professionals has the experience and expertise needed for you to strive. Your goals are our goals and our priority. Leno will guide you to the right financial solution with the knowledge, resources, and support you need. Give us a call at 242-396-3225 or email us at info@lenobahamas.com to get started. Visit our website, www.lenobahamas.com, for more information today. Leno, your bridge to the future.
Welcome back. In the midst of ongoing worldwide discourse surrounding the sexual and psychological abuse of women involved in intimate relationships with men, Associate Professor Dr. Niambi Hall Campbell-Dean, along with UB colleagues William Fielding and Virginia C. Balance, has conducted research that offers insight into the prevalence of marital rape and its effect on women in the Bahamas. Good morning, let me get all of this together. Dr. Hall Campbell-Dean, and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So could you provide an overview about the basic findings of your research on this study that is featuring a topic that is very high in discussion in the Bahamas?
Sure. So a study was conducted using students in a research class at the University of the Bahamas, where they did an internet-based study, and we surveyed a total of 2,686 women, asking them questions regarding their relationships or their intimate partner relationships, heterosexual relationships. And so it looked at issues of psychological abuse as well as sexual abuse in these relationships. And so after cleaning the data, there was a total of 1,728 responses that we were actually able to use. And so I like to point that out because sometimes people may think that all of the data that you get, you are able to use and it's part of the study. But we really have to make sure that we're using data that is going to be useful for us. And so we clean up the data. And then we had a total of 464 married women in our data. And from that sample of women, we found that married women were more likely to report sexual abuse in their intimate partner relationships than non-married women.
That's a very interesting finding. Did you assess any contributing factors?
Well, we didn't really look at the factors per se in this particular study, but we did see that married women at 13.8% reported non-consensual sex, while single women reported non-consensual sex at 6.3% of the women in our study reported non-consensual sex. And so we questioned this issue of non-consensual sex in a number of different ways, because that's not always an easy thing to get to in a survey. It was an internet-based survey, so all our responses were anonymous. So women were less likely to feel like their answers would be subjected to scrutiny or they would be found out. So we tried to keep it as anonymous as possible, but we didn't really look at the factors surrounding why they might have reported those rates.
And what motivated you to focus specifically on the occurrence of marital rape in the Bahamas?
So this was a motivation as the gender-based violence act is being put forward. Also, we wanted to basically be able to have data in the country that can be used to make policy decisions, that can be used to help people understand what the real state of the issue is, so that when we have conversations about violence against women in the Bahamas, that we're able to do so with data and not just speak off of opinions or personal anecdotes.
Were there any findings from the study that you were surprised by, or do you think that the public should be alarmed by?
So I think that one of the findings that was interesting is that persons who reported, especially married women, who reported having non-consensual sex within their marriages, also reported higher levels of psychological abuse within their relationships. And so that's one of the things that we wanted to highlight in the study, that when we're talking about physical abuse within intimate partner relationships, that is also coupled with the psychological abuse. So even when the physical harm is done, there's still harm that is being enacted and initiated within these relationships that can persist over time.
Right. So there seems to be a theme of abuse that just weaves its way.
That permeates throughout
through
that
the
relationship, indeed.
Do you hope or do you plan to have the study published in any journals?
So this study will be published in the International Journal of Bahamian Studies when it is released either this month or next month. Persons will be able to access it simply by going on the internet and searching the International Journal. It's an open source journal, or which I would prefer, you go to the University of the Bahamas website and access it through our libraries page.
How do you hope the findings will affect change for the Bahamas?
So we hope that the findings will affect change in the Bahamas by giving policymakers actual data and information to use to base their decisions off of. We know that we're living in an environment today where data is king, and data is really important. And so we want to make decisions that affect the future of Bahamian women, the future of Bahamians in general, that are not based solely off of opinion or personal feelings. We want to be able to say we're making policy based off of what is actually happening to Bahamian women, and that Bahamian women are protected throughout their lifespan, regardless of whether they choose to be married or not in their relationships.
You know, when it comes to psychological abuse or sexual abuse in the context of a marriage, sometimes these issues can seem very blurry or just emotionally charged, as you mentioned. How do you think that your research is going to clear the water that seems to be muddy right now?
I think that the research will clear the water. When you look at the study, you see that we have women that reported non-consensual sex and also women that reported specifically rape in their relationships. The women and women that were married also reported higher cases of rape specifically in their relationships than women who were not. And so I think it clears it up by saying, okay, we're not just talking, because sometimes we're not taught about consent, right? What consent is, what consent isn't, are not really conversations that we have specifically. So when we highlight, okay, this was what people reported as non-consensual, this is what people reported specifically as rape in their relationships, it helps to delineate the difference between the two and say that both of these are occurring within intimate partner relationships in the country. And so what are we going to do about it?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think this is a very important, subject to provide research on. I want to say congratulations to you and thank you because, again, this has been such an emotionally charged issue, and now we're able to add some facts and figures which will hopefully just create a better argument for everybody involved. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. For me.
Yes. And thank you for watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Wouldn't it be satisfying to own your own piece of paradise? The most important investment you can make in your life is real estate, and Fidelity has the solution for you. You could become the owner of a home or a lot on any of our beautiful islands. Come and talk to a loan officer and inquire about how you can fund your goals with a loan today. Because we know it means a lot to own a lot. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or visit any of our branches, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau, or 352-6676 for Freeport.
Here are three young people who stopped attending high school and got disengaged in their educational journey due to the pandemic. Today, they are proudly taking their walk all over the place because they took advantage of BTVI's Smart Start initiative. All high school students in New Providence and the Family Islands can participate in free hands-on learning to improve employability. Learn basic literacy and numeracy skills and earn a BTVI certificate in automotive mechanics, beauty and construction trades, or fashion in only 14 weeks for full-time participants or 24 weeks for part-time. Don't count yourself out. Do what they did and enroll today. Email smartstart@btvi.edu.bs or call 502-6300 so you can take your walk anywhere in life.
Focal Holdings Limited is proud of its consistent growth and the financial success it continues to bring to many Bahamians who invest in the company. Focal is committed to ensuring optimal financial performance for its shareholders. Focal's leadership remains focused on superior customer service and operational excellence across all sectors. Focal.
Welcome back. Every child counts. Reaching every child through change and innovation with increased partnership and support of education-focused initiative by the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit. Partnerships within the various sectors of government are vital to the fulfillment of the overall vision of our country. Joining us today is Ms. Sharmaine Sinclair, Deputy Director of Education for the Planning and Development Division. She's here to provide more insight on these partnerships. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so can you elaborate on the Every Child Counts initiative and its primary objective?
Right, so Every Child Counts, we decided since we came out of COVID, the world changed, the way that learning took place changed, and we realized that our students had not returned to learning. We discovered that there was initially 8,000, and then we brought the data in so that we can determine it was really 4,513 students who were missing.
Wow.
The Minister of Education decided that we needed to have some partnership in the country in order to not just bring our students back to learning, but also to, first of all, find our children so that they could come back to learning. And we have partnered with many of our agencies, government and private agencies in the country. But one of our partners would be the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit, given support at the highest level of government, highest office of government. And with them giving support, with them partnering with us, we've been able to accomplish bringing our students back. Attendance rate is at the end of last school year at 92% nationwide. We're happy about that. And now the focus is we're bringing you back. Let's see what we can do to support you so that more of you would come back, but also so that we can realize the loss that took place and then recover from what took place.
You know, recently some statistics have been circulating on social media with regard to a decline in the number of BGCSE passes.
Yes.
And there was a lot of conversation about the fact that despite the digital learning platforms that were made available, that was almost 2 years of life where students were not in a class interacting with their teacher. How do we, I guess, accommodate for that gap that took place and affected so many young people?
Yes, so first of all, I would have mentioned that we needed to determine really what was the loss. We, in last school year, over 5 months, did an assessment of our students to determine really where every child was in terms of their learning. We have gotten to that point. The BGCSE, BJC's GLAT results bear out what we've been seeing.
Yeah.
Now the focus has to be what strategies do we put in place? And yes, technology is still going to play a role in terms of us integrating the technology with the methodologies, with the way that we're learning. That's the innovation part of it, because our children are digital natives. They're born into this. They don't always use it the way that we would want them to use the technology. But we realize that we can't get away from the technology. In determining how we're going to address it, one of the good things about the assessments that took place is that also strategies came out, recommendations as to what we need to do to bring our students back to where they need to be.
And so, of course, again, this Every Child Counts initiative, what does that look like on a practical level? How are you engaging students as well as parents, you know, just to ensure positive outcomes?
Wonderful. I'm glad of that question because you mentioned parents, not just students,
Yes.
but parents. Students have a role to play in that they need to be motivated. They need to have some internal motivation, but parents partner with us. They are an important stakeholder in the learning of their children. We've decided that this year, beginning this year, we are going to bring back what we had, a parenting unit, assisting our parents in understanding what kinds of standards, benchmarks are in place for their children, where their children should be. What should your child know when they're in the 3rd grade? By the time they leave 7th grade, what should they know? So the parenting unit, that kind of initiative, but also using the technology again, we have decided that we will develop a parenting dashboard. We gave children access to the learning management system. Parents, you're now going to have access. You will have a dashboard where you'll be able to see the grades, the assignments, the attendance of your child. So go home and question, I see that you were not at school last week, Wednesday. I sent you to school. What happened? So these kinds of things so that we can work together, we can partner together. And our partners like the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit, they're assisting in that, particularly with the data that we're collecting and analyzing.
You led me right into my next question. Just talk about how the Ministry of Education is working along with the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit and what the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit actually does.
Right. So their motto is data-driven success. And we started working with them since 2018. We would have worked on initiatives like universal pre-primary education, ensuring that our preschool students are getting into schools, having access to learning. We would have worked on digital evolution in terms of us partnering with them to ensure that there are access points in schools so that Wi-Fi internet access is there. We would have worked on lower primary literacy, looking at the data coming out of GLAT so that we can determine in education what kinds of things we're seeing, what kinds of strategies to put in place. So that's aspect of the work, but not just the technical officers working together. We had in the last school year the Prime Minister himself going to schools, encouraging students to attend because we were working on that, and also motivating the staff, the educators, showing them that he appreciates the work that is being done in our schools.
Well, it seems like an all hands on deck approach, which is very important because we do have a substantial challenge, but it's so encouraging to see, you know, how so many stakeholders are working together just to bring the best outcomes, which is for our students.
Yes, and we're appreciative of all of the partnerships. Believe me, we're working with government agencies, faith-based organizations, churches like Grace Community that would have our students come there being mentored by persons in the church, not just that church, but many others. And so partnerships, important. Teamwork brings the success that we need to have.
I love that. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
Well, thank you for telling us all about this morning.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Starting this August and every month thereafter, the Bahamas National Statistical Institute will be conducting the Quarterly Labor Force Survey. This household-based survey is designed to produce quarterly labor force estimates and deliver important information, including the number of persons employed and unemployed, employed persons classified by occupation, and more. If you're 15 or older, we encourage you to participate. For more information, visit bahamas.gov.bs/statistics.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
The Euro device is very affordable. It allows you to increase your internet connectivity. You are able to do away with the buffering, say goodbye to the dead spots. It gives them a much more stable connection. Their customers are able to view their digital menus. The establishment is able to stream. It allows for everyone, the customers and the business operators, to have a much more robust and stable internet connectivity.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. I am your host, Davriel Gardner, flying solo today. We're missing our co-host, Mark, but I'm sure he'll be back soon. I have to catch up on a few things. I got scolded for, well, I got so many compliments actually, for this lovely dress that I'm wearing. And this is actually a hand-painted, one-of-a-kind dress from Nigeria, and this is available for anyone who's interested at African Tings Boutique, which is in the Dugard, I believe, Plaza, which for all of us, it's the plaza that's adjacent to McDonald's in the Palmdale area. But you definitely want to run down to African Tings. I also have to wish our very own Carrie Albury a happy birthday. We've had a great show so far. I've gotten to speak with some really incredible people about important things that are happening in both the public and private sector, as well as just important research in terms of how to move our students forward so that we can have a data-driven approach to that, as well as some very important statistics as they relate to sexual violence and just abuse in relationships and how we can change that narrative for the Bahamas moving forward. We're looking forward to a conversation with Eardley Grant, who's going to tell us all about how we can protect ourselves from cyber threats. But before all that, we're going to have a second look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by NUA, the hands-on agency.
In your second look at weather sunrise, we take a trip around the tropics, which is quite busy this time in the Atlantic. And we're talking about Hurricane Franklin. At 5 a.m. this morning, Franklin was located at latitude 37.8 degrees north, longitude 57.0 degrees west. And that's 935 miles northeast Bermuda, moving towards the east, northeast at 80 miles per hour. Those winds are still 80 miles per hour with higher gusts. And then we have post-tropical storm Idalia. At 5 a.m. this morning, it was located at latitude 32.6 degrees north and longitude 69.8 degrees west. It's moving east-southeast at 60 miles per hour. Those winds are 60 miles per hour. And then we have Tropical Storm Jose. And at 5 a.m. this morning, Jose was located at latitude 33.9 degrees north, longitude 52.0 degrees west. And that's moving towards the north at 80 miles per hour with winds 60 miles per hour. And then we have Tropical Depression Girth still hanging around, and at 5 a.m. this morning, it was located at latitude 28.7 degrees north, longitude 55.0 degrees west, and that's moving towards east at 8 miles per hour, those winds 35 miles per hour. Then we have a disturbance, and at 5 a.m. this morning, that disturbance located just to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands, and over the next 7 days has a 9% chance of development. On the local scene, still have some moisture associated with Dahlia, and that's going to drift across the northwest Bahamas during the daytime, particularly in the afternoon hours, bringing about some showers and thunderstorms, one or two becoming heavy at times. Most probably have high pressure across the islands, and that's going to trigger off some pretty good weather, particularly in the central and southeastern islands. Still have some swells out there, so smoke upwards, be alert for that. In your marine forecast, winds today over the northwest Bahamas, light and variable, seas 1 to 3 feet, northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. And then on Saturday, those winds north to northeast at 15 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet in northwest and central Bahamas, light and variable, seas less than 3 feet over southeastern islands, but you can expect those swells up to about 5 to 6 feet. On Sunday, those winds continue north to northeast at 15 knots, sea 3 to 5 feet in northwest Bahamas, It continue light and variable seas 1 to 3 feet over the central and southeastern islands. Your tides. You can expect a high tide at 9:22 this morning. Your next low tide will be at 3:37 this afternoon. High gain tonight at 9:46. Sunset will be at 7:28 this evening. Rises tomorrow at 6:50. UV index 9. Your water temperature 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And your moon phase. Full moon. Standard look. High pressure becomes the dominant weather feature, but you have a little frontal boundary that will spoil just north of Grand Bahama and Abaco over the weekend, and that's going to trick off some pockets of showers, particularly over the Grand Bahama, Abaco area in the extreme northwest Bahamas throughout the weekend. But for the most part, we're looking at partly sunny skies, hot and humid, with a chance of an afternoon shower with the remainder of the islands. Temperature daytime will be in the low 90s, at night time around 80-degree mark. That puts rock your fall look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Gabrielle.
Thanks, Godfrey. Cybersecurity is the protection of internet-connected systems such as hardware, software, and data from cyber threats. Here to tell us about cybersecurity awareness is Eardley Grant, Assistant Professor of Computer Information Systems at the University of the Bahamas. Good morning, Mr. Grant, and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thanks for having me.
So, what does the term phishing refer to, and how can individuals protect themselves from phishing attacks?
Well, basically what phishing is where an attacker kind of takes an email and then modifies it in such a way that when they send it, the person who's going to read it is going to instinctively click on it. Now, the interesting thing with phishing is that as a cost of an attack, it's almost nothing. And all you really require is for one person with an organization to click it. Once that happens, the organization is compromised. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of corporations, what they do is that they try to create these campaigns in which their employees are more aware of these phishing campaigns that happen. However, the problem that you have and what end users have to be aware of is that usually the phishing that you would see would be something that you can easily tell. It would be maybe some prince from Nigeria. But you have to remember that there are techniques that attackers use. And the most prominent one is something called OSINT, O-S-I-N-T. That stands for Open Source Intelligence Gathering. And then what they do is that they would look at social media. They would look at exposed databases. And they would collect as much information as possible, either about an organization or about an individual. And then they would tailor that phishing attack on that individual. And guess what? If they do their job properly, they would probably get something like a 99.99% click rate, which is almost perfect. And the thing that organizations and individuals have to remember is that this information that they're gathering is free. So if you have individuals that would talk about their hobbies, or even organizations that would actually have a list of their employees and what their employees are interested in doing, or even what their charities are, attackers can use that information in order to craft a perfect phishing email.
I actually have been a victim of phishing myself. I remember I had received an email that appeared to be from a colleague, and I clicked there was an attachment link that I clicked, and that completely ruined my grandparents' computer, which they were not very happy about. Thankfully, my uncle, he's the head of IT at PHA, so through about 2 weeks of, I don't want to say sorcery, but some sort of IT magic, he was able to retrieve the files, but it was extremely difficult. Can you talk about why it's important to use strong, unique passwords for different online accounts?
Well, to be honest, passwords is probably the absolute worst way that we can actually protect our information. Yeah, but unfortunately, it's the only way that we have right now. The reason why passwords are important and the reason why you must have complex passwords is that the techniques that these attackers use in order to actually try to attempt to get your password. However, the most important thing, other than complex passwords, which we can talk an hour about, is that each password that you use for each one of your accounts must be unique. And I always use this quote from one of my favorite films, Rush Hour, you know, with Chris Tucker, where he says, never, ever, 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 never, ever use the same password twice. And so for end users, the technique is, how do I ensure that all of my accounts use a unique password? Because, you know, if you're like a few people where they kind of write it down, that doesn't work. So what you should be using is something called a password manager. And there are many password managers out there that you can use that actually records your passwords. For example, me, I probably have about 80 to 100 passwords that I use. And if you asked me to log into a system, I couldn't log in because I don't know my passwords. Because each of my passwords are roughly about 32 characters long.
32?
32 characters long.
Okay.
And the way I get in is I just remember one password. And that one password then unlocks encrypted passwords that then are added into the account. And every single one of my website's accounts, completely unique passwords.
So we've really seen, because of this, we've really seen the advent of two-factor authentication. I think I can't log into pretty much anything now, especially if I use an unfamiliar device, without getting a request for a code. Talk about the importance of deploying those kind of systems.
Well, two-factor authentication is not good, but it's the second best thing that we have. Ideally, in the future, we want to go away from two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, and also passwords, whether it's going to be something tokenized. We're in a position right now where that a lot of software companies like Google and Microsoft and even Facebook are starting to implement that. Now, once that happens, we are going to be fairly safe when it comes to passwords. Now, two-factor authentication is where you would have two factors in order for you to identify who you are. And usually what it would be is something that you are, something that you have, something that you do, or something that you know. And then you would use any of those two factors in order to authenticate yourself. So you can think of it as a barrier that an attacker has to actually leap over in order to be able to compromise your account.
Can you talk about how to distinguish between a safe website and a potentially malicious website?
Oh, that's a very tough one. Because the problem is that every website can potentially be compromised, regardless of the website that it is. Now, if it's a phishing website, you can usually tell by the URL that's used, or even some sort of grammatical mistakes that are in it. But you have to remember that legitimate websites are always being compromised. And what they would do is that once they compromise that website, they would then install their own malware on it. And so the most important thing when you actually go to a website is to ensure that your system, your equipment, is updated. Because you can think of cybersecurity as going after the lowest common denominator, or the lowest fruit that's hanging on there. And so what you want to do is to make sure that you are not in that category or segment of the lowest fruit. And the way that you do that is by ensuring that your software, your operating system, and your hardware is updated on a regular basis.
And if you have, unfortunately, engaged with a phishing email or a potentially malicious website, what are some signs that your computer has been affected?
Well, for one thing, it's usually would crash. But the most dangerous thing is that real good phishers, you wouldn't know the difference. And while antivirus software is good, you have to remember that antivirus software only really catches something like 70% of the malware that's actually out there. And so the main thing that you need to do is to try to get help. If you think that you clicked on something, and by the way, it is not your fault if you do, because it's the way that they actually craft these emails, is that it's called social engineering, where that what they want you to do is that they want you to execute an action without thinking. And that's a technique that they use. And so even though if you clicked on it, the main thing you need to do is try to get help.
That is very helpful. And if people want to get more help from you, want to learn more things, what are some resources that they can find online, or how can they find you?
Well, I'm at the University of the Bahamas, CIS department. All you really have to do is just call them, and I'm always available. And as far as resources online, there are so many out there, but the challenge with a lot of the resources is that it's kind of high level. But if you're really interested, a good resource would be like the SANS Institute.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Glad to be
Hopefully
here. Thank
our
you.
viewers will deploy these lessons to protect themselves and their information.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you for watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
One thing, two things, new thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Visit BahamasResidence.com for details.
Introducing the Focal Smart Pass app that helps you to fuel up faster. Here's how it works. Download the app on the App Store or get it on Google Play and create your profile with payment details. Visit your nearest Shell station, open the app, scan the pump's QR code, select your payment amount, and begin fueling. Say goodbye to cash and cards because the Focal Smart Pass offers secure and convenient payment options right at your fingertips. Download Focal Smart Pass now and fuel up faster today.
Welcome back. It's been a few years since she's been here last, but we're so happy to have our Bahamian rake and scrape, junkanoo, and soca artist Ilsha McPhee here this morning to close out our summer entertainment series. So good morning, Ilsha, and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us what you've been up to. I think you were back on you were on a show in 2019. So
Yes.
what have you been doing?
I've obviously continued singing. In the meantime, I became an attorney. Go figure. But I also I'm part of a rake and scrape band called Shad Calling the VIPs. So along with my artistry and pushing my music, we is a group of young entertainers just pushing Bahamian culture forward internationally and locally, because this year alone we've been to Miami, we've been to Atlanta, and we've been pushing the rake and scrape sound.
So what makes you so passionate about rake and scrape, especially you talk about, but Bahamian music, Bahamian culture?
I think because it's ours. I think every country has its own thing, and this is just our thing. And I think that we need to keep that culture alive. And I want to be the change that I wish to see, kind of. So I push in rake and scrape or nothing all day, every day.
Okay. So attorney by day,
yes.
Performer by night. I
Yes.
mean, what is that life like? What is it like to be dedicated to this kind of performance?
I think it provides a lot of fulfillment because I get to help my clients. I get to make a difference in society, I guess, intellectually, but also I get to entertain. So it's like the best of both worlds for me.
Okay. And you performed at the big independence celebrations, 50th anniversary.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was an awesome experience. It was definitely a learning experience because you were around like consummate professionals. You got to meet basically everybody who's anybody in the industry, and you got to learn from them, talk to them, dialogue with them, and also share the stage with them.
Okay. And then what is the song that you're going to sing for us today? Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yes, this one is called Turned Up. I sing it everywhere, and people like it because it's like a nice dancing song, but it basically talks about us not muting Bahamian music. Like I will turn, like literally, like, you know, like in the party, they normally, when they play the Bahamian music, it's like time to go. No, We turning it up. It's time to turn it up. It's time to dance. It's time to party. So that's basically the vibe and the vision behind the song.
Okay. Well, we're very excited. We're very excited.
Yes.
And so we have that performance for you right now. Ilsha McPhee performing Turned Up. Enjoy.
Good morning, Bahamas. My name is Ilsha. Let's have a good time. Hey, Ilsha on the track right now. Let's go. You can mute the music that make me. I'll choose every tea that Ricky and Scrapey. Tell you them, chocolate and 10. I don't care what you play, just play me something. Reckon scrape, chunk on you, calypso. I feel so all day, all night. Just vibe to the boom, boom, good up. You know when Grammy dance, the music is Sharmaine. And when the church people start, the vibe really sweet. In the red, in the cold, that's how the people go getting back door tickets. I ain't gonna never miss it. Feeling break up in the morning. I don't care how I feel, just play me something. Reckon scrape, chunk on you, calypso. I feel so all day, all night. Just vibe to the bum, bum. If we to be straight rushing. Listen, don't tell me nothing. I'm too regard dancing. Just let me jump in. If we to be straight rushing, don't tell me nothing. Regard dancing. Just let me jump all day, all night. Just vibe to the bum, bum, cut up, bum, bum, cut up, bum, bum, cut up, bum, clap, bum, cut up, bum, bum, cut up. Hey, come on, y'all hear that bass guitar? Hey. A little mama lay, mama lay, mama lay, mama lay, white gown and dingy coat. Come on, pick up your gown, let me see your coat. Let's go. Break on scrape, chunk on you, calypso. I feel all day, all night. Just fly. Let's go to the bum, bum, break on scrape, chunk on you, calypso. I feel so all day, all night. Just vibe to the bum, bum, cut up, 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 bum, all day, all night. Hey, thank you.
Hey, Mom, can you look after Kaylee?
Sorry, I'll be out for a while dealing with my home and car insurance.
What? You know there's a newer way, right?
A new way?
Where have you been? Look, go to newerinsurance.com, log in, get your quote, buy your insurance, done. You can even use it to manage a claim.
Oh?
By the way, it's not NUA. It's NUA. Where's she been?
Do it anyway with NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers.
Well, it has been a great Friday here on Bahamas at Sunrise. I decided to stand to close out the show because I just got so much love for my beautiful dress. So I wanted to give you a much better view of this lovely hand-painted Nigerian ensemble all the way, well, from Nigeria. These are all one of a kind and available, like I said, at African Things, who so generously sponsored this dress for today's show. Make sure to make it an absolutely fabulous weekend. Like I said, we have a show coming out at the Dundas this weekend. You definitely want to support your local talent or find out all the exciting things that are going on in your neighborhood. And we want to see you back on Monday.